would like to say thank you very much for everybody that's in attendance today. I am very proud to be in the Ukraine, and as Christiane said, you know, I came over here as a volunteer. I'm very proud to be here because I believe that it doesn't matter what uniform you wear. You know, when you join your country's military, you're serving your community, you're serving your family, and you're serving your nation regardless of that flag. And you join the military for the right reasons. You know, since I've been here, I've only been here 3 or 4 days, and I've visited with many veterans, and I've visited with a few of the families. And I'm going to tell you, you have a national treasure that I don't even think you've tapped into yet. These men and women are so passionate about Ukraine and their families and their communities that they have so much to offer you still. And it seems like they feel that they've been forgotten by their communities, by their families, and especially by their government. They're feeling like their care needs to be more. They feel like they need to be taken care of after they get out of uniform. And that's something that I'm here to share. Because even in the United States, we have veterans that separate from the military that kind of fade into the communities and you don't hear from them. But something that I think that a lot of people are not aware of is that often these men and women that fade into their communities and don't say anything, it can lead to suicide. It can lead to alcoholism. It can lead into really bad things, not just in that person's life, but it can bring a bad light to the military and to the veteran community. And you don't want that. You don't want that at all. So regardless of the flag, regardless of the uniform, we need to take care of these men and women because just like I did, I believe that I joined for the right reasons. And I'm absolutely proud and honored to have met the men and women that I've met here in the last couple of days. And I'm very proud of the community that I represent back home. The great majority of the men and women that I served with are the same as our Ukrainian brothers and sisters, is we serve. That's the key word, we serve. We serve our families, our communities, and our nation, so others don't have to. So for me to be able to be here and share my story and represent my book, I'm so honored. So thank you very much for welcoming me here in your home. And I love it, by the way. It's absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
To tap on to what Shайло said, it is beautiful. We've had a wonderful experience, and we have enjoyed meeting so many veterans and military servicemen and women and their families. And we do hope that you can continue to appreciate everything they've sacrificed. They sacrifice their minds, they sacrifice their families, their friends, their body, and most of all, they've sacrificed their heart. They've given so much to their country, and when they come back, they just want to be able to live a life that gives them the joys that they were fighting for, and gives them the freedom that they fought for, and gives them a chance to live a life with a little bit of adventure in it, where they can have jobs that they love and are passionate about, and where they feel like every day when they're waking up they have a purpose. And that is very difficult, just as in the United States. We have to help men and women over there feel that. And it takes an entire group of people to do that. It takes a special tribe of people to help each and every one of them. And that's something that we bring and talk about, is letting our servicemen and women, their spouses, their families, their parents, help them continue on. And thank you. This country is beautiful. This city is so full of history and architecture, and we truly have enjoyed all the people and the food. So thank you very much. It has been pleasant.
We had some very limited questions from the veterans, because as a veteran, I believe that I spoke to them, giving them information. Today when we had a group, we had some really good questions, but the veterans at the hospital, I can tell you this, they were just really upset that they were in the hospital. They wanted to be on the front lines. They wanted to be out there with their friends. They didn't want to be in the hospital. And coming from experience, I didn't like being in the hospital either. It's not necessarily that you don't want to be in the hospital because the hospital is bad. It's just you don't want to be there. You want to be out there with the camaraderie and being able to serve your country. There's a lot of pride behind that. And those young men and young women, they felt a little left behind and felt like they wasn't able to complete their mission. So what was one of the questions at the hospital yesterday? Oh, there was one. He said, he asked if my friends come to see me when I was in the hospital. And I told him that a few had, and he said, well, nobody's come to see me yet. But I understand that he was probably still pretty new to the hospital. And but I think that goes right back to that camaraderie statement. You know, these men and women, they want to be able to serve. And being there, it's not a happy place for them. But, you know, I have been just so moved by the passion that everybody's had that I've spoke with. What was another question that came across today that was really good? Oh, how can you help? There was some that said, there was a couple of questions about how can we help veterans that are going through depression or alcoholism or something where you know that they're having a hard time. And we recommended that they get involved, like a peer-to-peer. You know, we wanted the veteran to help veteran. That was a huge part of it. You know, and as I said a moment ago, I want to clarify, you know, I said that they were upset with the government. They don't feel that the programs are being developed fast enough. And we all know that these things take time. I mean, we're still catching up in the United States from Vietnam. You know, I mean, you can only help so many people at a time, and we understand that. And we tried to encourage patience. We tried to encourage them to find care on their own, because sometimes that's what it takes. And I didn't get all of my care through the military in the United States. I saw it. I went out and I found care that was good for me, and I didn't mind paying for it. I didn't mind paying for that private care or utilizing organizations and programs in the community designed to help me. So those were some good questions that we tried to answer.
And I agree with what Dimitri said. He said he saw this picture of a man that, what did you say? I don't remember the exact word, that he looked different. And he brought that book here to help everyone. Shайло and I both speak to corporate worlds that they're maybe having a problem with their leaders, or they're having an issue with their product and their assembly line. And we go in and we talk about endurance and lift them up, just like you said, drinking a glass of water. Some of us can't do that. Shайло only has so many fingers. His excuse is he can't wash dishes because of them.
I try. Not to do dishes, but I try to get out of it.
So, yes, we talk about, and if you stay for the presentation, you'll hear a big part of what the key things are to help the veterans and the soldiers currently. A lot of it has to do with what Shайло said and what Dimitri said. Being together, being a united front, camaraderie. We call it a tribe. And it's very important that everybody works together. The spouses, the parents, the children. Don't hide anything from anyone. Counseling, there's so much out there. And these men, that some of the statements and questions they did ask had to do with they just want to feel whole again. They want to feel like a man again. They want to feel like women again. They want to come back and do something that's profound, because they served on the front lines. That was one profound thing to do. Now they want to do something new, different, and make a difference in the world. And it's hard. It's hard to discover who you are after war.
The short time that I've been here, I see that there are programs available to veterans. One thing that I did notice is that there's a breakdown of awareness. The veterans themselves may not even know that they're entitled to a specific program. Now, I understand that also, you know, the government is not just focused on them. They've got other avenues that they got to pay attention to, and you know, the money's got to go somewhere, and it's got to be allocated in proper ways. Now, the veterans themselves, some of them said that they just felt a little hopeless behind it. But what we have seen in the United States is that there are so many people willing to donate money. There's so many people willing to offer their hospitals, like Notice. You know, Notice, they rely on private funds to help the veterans that come to their program. You know, there's so many opportunities in this country to open up that door and open up that avenue where private people can help the veteran community. Don't just give them a fish, give them the fishing pole and teach them how to fish, right? Okay, so it's the same concept. Instead of offering them financial assistance for 1 month, give them a job. You know, if they need medical care, how many people out there that you know are counselors that really have some time on their hands? Maybe in the evenings they could offer free counseling for veterans. You know, I mean, it doesn't have to rely you don't have to rely completely on the government. You have a community of patriots right here. Every place that I've been, I've said, Slava Ukraini. And everybody rallies behind that. They're passionate about it. Not just the veterans, the whole community. That's who you are. This country has overcome so much. You shouldn't stop now. Take care of those men and women that have picked up arms so you don't have to.
One thing that I think is very profound, you have the Viva magazine. Did I say it right?
Maybe.
And
Viva the Victory. Yeah.
Viva the Victory magazine, thank you. And as we looked through it and I was reading it, my goodness, you have these combat survivors. By the way, notice I said survivors. They are not victims. They aren't wounded. They are combat survivors. And that is terminology that needs to be used. So you have these combat survivors on the cover of this magazine. Every household should have an issue of this magazine. Why? Because not to be ashamed of an amputated leg, or an amputated arm, or missing fingers, or burnt skin.
Or no ears.
Or no ears. There's no reason why they shouldn't be proud and be able to walk down the streets or wheel down the streets in their wheelchair. No one should look at them differently. When you get to know Shайло, you no longer see scars. And you can ask anybody who's met him. You don't even notice he has scars. You notice who he is as a human being. When you get to know somebody with an amputated leg or amputated arm or no ears, you don't even notice it after a while because you know them as a human being. This country needs to recognize those men and women as human beings. They still have a heart. They still have a mind. They're still capable of so many things. I also recognize that as Shайло was talking about organizations, we have so many nonprofits in the United States that help with different things. One organization might provide animal therapy and give people dogs or cats or something to help them soothe and calm them. Another organization might work on art therapy and bring in different kinds of arts for men and women and their children and their spouses. Teach them how to paint, teach them how to relax. So I don't know how your government works, but one thing that I think that would be very, very beneficial is, and I don't know how your taxes even work. When we have a nonprofit, our people can donate to the nonprofit and then they get a tax write-off. Our companies who make good money can donate profits from their company and get a tax write-off, and then it gives them a desire to even make more money for their company, and then they don't have a problem paying more taxes because they're spending some of their profits towards this nonprofit that's helping their veterans.
It's good for the government, good for the people.
Good for the veterans. The other thing is a lot of them said that my wife or my children can't go with me to get help. Why not? How can you send, one of the examples I use, how can you send an alcoholic to go get treatment at a treatment center, then send him back home with a wife who drinks, with the pub next door, in the home that's filled with liquor in the cabinets? You can't. You have to treat the entire family. So same with the veterans. You can't expect them to go to war and then the wives to understand everything. They need to go with them to understand at counseling or doctor's appointments or treatment centers to understand what they went through. We don't need to see all the blood and guts, but we need to understand what's going on in their head, what they feel in their bodies. And I think that's really important for this country to be able to get there. Of course, like Shайло said, we've been dealing with this since Vietnam. So we've had plenty of years to put into place many, many beneficial programs.
That's actually really relevant, I think, in any military force, because nobody wants to come back crippled or handicapped in some way. And that was something that I learned. You know, I was injured in 2007. That's 10 years. We had already been at war in Afghanistan and Iraq for a few years, right? So, you know, you wouldn't think it would be new, but the military basically prepares you for death. But they don't prepare you for coming back injured and crippled and all that other stuff. So I think it can be overwhelming for the military, because it's one of those things that not a lot of people want to talk about. It's just like suicide and divorce. These are all topics that most people want to stay away from, because we don't know all the answers, or we may not even understand all of it. But the sad thing is that it's a fact of our life. It's something that we do have to deal with. It's not something that we can just sweep away. When I first started writing Still Will, that's why I wanted to write about these things that most people don't want to talk about. And I tried to encourage those going through it that there is life after. There is life during. But you got to get through it in order to see those better days. If you quit in the middle, or your community lets you fade away, you know, then you're never going to see those brighter days. But there are brighter days. I wear my scars. I don't just wear them, I own them. These scars tell a story. It's just like tattoos. Some people get tattoos to tell their story. I don't need to get tattoos. You can see that I've been there. I've done that. But not every veteran has that blessing and that opportunity to wear their scars on the outside. Some veterans come back with scars here. They come back with scars here. And then they come home and they don't feel welcomed home. It's crippling. So it's so important that our communities and our families and everybody understands and talks about those hard subjects, and then rallies around these individuals and bring them up and get them to those brighter days together.
And I don't think there's a way to actually prepare for injuries, because then you leave a fear in the mind and they're not able to battle. But I believe that when they do come home and they're injured, that's when the preparation begins, and it has to be with their parents and their spouses. And that is so important, is to include those who will be caring for them, those who have loved them for so long already. They're not going to stop loving them. So you need to help them be the encouraging factors behind it.
Talking about, let me make sure I understand, just because of my hearing.
The military psychologists, they are, from what I'm understanding him saying, is that the soldiers aren't necessarily listening to the psychologists, and the psychologists might not totally be prepared.
Right, and we agree. Last night we talked to a group of medical professionals. Many of them were psychologists or in that field as counselors. I think that we had a great turnout. I mean, we had a full room last night of people interested in how they can help with that. Sadly, we're still overcome with mental illness in the United States. People that need counseling. Now, there's a misconcept is that when you come back from combat that you automatically have PTSD if you're having problems. That's not always the case. You know, we're trying to better understand it, but the best way I've understood it so far as a veteran is that if you come back and you're having a hard time, that can just be combat stress. Combat stress is not PTSD yet. Combat stress is treatable. If you treat it in the beginning and try to help these people integrate back into society, you know, because being on the battlefield is a lot different than being at home and dealing with things that, you know, you may not think is important, you know, as dodging bullets or dodging bombs and, you know, taking care of your friends on the left and right. That's actually easy sometimes than having to come home and prepare a meal and get the kids off to school and, you know, do the laundry and pay the bills and do the dishes.
Well, and the one thing that I talked about to them was, instead of saying a psychologist or counseling, start having social gatherings. A person's going to be more likely to sit with other veterans, caregivers, with however you're going to put it together, and start out and say, we're having a social gathering. We're just going to have some coffee and cookies, everybody come, and we just want you to meet each other. And then we're going to have you meet again. And then we're going to have you meet again, and before you know it, you have these group counseling sessions that just formed on their own.
So it's better to make veteran to veteran instead of psychologist to veteran.
We'll have the psychologists there guiding it.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely, I mean, even us, we go to counseling together.
Mm-hmm.
We go to counseling groups. We go to workshops, week-long retreats together. But they're called retreats.
Mm-hmm.
They're called social gatherings. That way the stigmatism of, oh, there's nothing wrong with me. I am a counselor. I support all counseling.
You also asked how can these counselors or veterans get up to speed? You know, again, I think it goes right back to the groups, but also, you know, we could come back and talk to all the psychologists. That would be good.
Yeah, I mean, we've done trainings and stuff, and there's specialized trainings in PTSD and barracks. The list could go on. I know we're running out of time, so yes, and we'll talk a little bit about some of these things today.